The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was designed to be a revolution in air travel. It was built with lightweight composite materials for better fuel efficiency and designed for passenger comfort with larger windows and cleaner air. For over a decade, it maintained an impeccable safety record, completing more than 5 million flights without a single fatal incident. This remarkable achievement made the 787 a symbol of modern aviation engineering and reliability. Airlines around the world eagerly added the Dreamliner to their fleets, and passengers flew with confidence on this advanced aircraft. Its long-standing record was a point of pride for Boeing and a key selling point for its customers, representing a promise of safety and innovation in the skies. That promise was tragically broken in June 2024. An 11-year-old 787-8 operated by an Indian carrier crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad, India, bound for London. The accident claimed the lives of 241 of the 242 people on board, marking a devastating end to the Dreamliner's flawless safety history. The news sent shockwaves through the aviation industry and the traveling public. For an aircraft model that had been hailed as one of the safest ever built, this first fatal crash raised immediate and urgent questions. Investigators rushed to the scene, looking for clues to understand what could have possibly gone so horribly wrong on a routine flight. The initial details emerging from the crash site in India were deeply troubling. Eyewitness accounts and preliminary reports suggested a potential mechanical or procedural failure during the critical takeoff phase. Images showed the plane's landing gear was still extended when it was at an altitude of 600 feet, which is unusual. Furthermore, the wing flaps appeared to be fully retracted, a configuration that would not provide the necessary lift for a safe ascent. This combination of factors pointed away from a simple, single-point failure and suggested a more complex sequence of events. The industry held its breath, waiting for the flight data recorders to reveal the full story behind the catastrophic event. The crash did not happen in a vacuum. It occurred against a backdrop of growing concerns about Boeing's manufacturing standards and safety culture. For months, the company had been under intense scrutiny following a series of high-profile incidents involving its other aircraft, most notably the 737 MAX. The Ahmedabad disaster instantly amplified these worries, shifting the focus squarely onto the Dreamliner program. What was once seen as an isolated problem with a different aircraft model now looked like it could be part of a much larger systemic issue within one of the world's most important aerospace manufacturers. The first fatal 787 crash became a grim symbol of a company in crisis. Long before the tragic crash in India, brave employees within Boeing had been sounding the alarm. One prominent voice was Sam Salahpour, a current Boeing engineer. In April 2024, he testified before the U.S. Senate, delivering a stark warning about the structural integrity of the 787 Dreamliner. Salahpour alleged that sections of the plane's fuselage were not being joined together properly, creating tiny gaps that could, over time, lead to material fatigue and a catastrophic failure in the air. He claimed his repeated warnings were ignored by management and that he faced retaliation for speaking up. His recommendation was drastic. He called for the entire global fleet of over 1,000 Dreamliners to be grounded for inspection. Salahpour was not the first to raise such serious concerns. His testimony echoed the warnings of John Barnett, a former quality manager at Boeing's North Charleston plant, who tragically died in March 2024. In 2019, Barnett had revealed a troubling work environment where he claimed employees were pressured to cut corners. He alleged that workers were deliberately fitting substandard parts to aircraft on the production line to avoid delays. Even more disturbingly, he stated that testing showed up to a quarter of the emergency oxygen systems on the 787 could be faulty. Barnett was actively engaged in a lawsuit against Boeing when he was found dead, a circumstance that only deepened suspicions about the company's internal culture. These whistleblower reports triggered investigations by the Federal Aviation Administration, the U.S. body responsible for regulating aviation safety. The agency began to scrutinize Boeing's production processes more closely than ever before. In May 2024, the FAA opened an investigation after Boeing itself admitted that employees at its South Carolina plant may have falsified inspection records for some 787s. The inspections were meant to confirm proper electrical bonding where the wings are joined to the fuselage, a critical step for ensuring the aircraft is protected from lightning strikes. The idea that workers would skip such vital checks and lie about it on paper was a serious blow to confidence. the problems continued to mount. Just weeks before the fatal crash, in June 2024, Boeing disclosed another major quality control failure. The company found that hundreds of fasteners on the fuselages of some undelivered 787s had been installed improperly. This meant the clamping force was incorrect, which could add stress to the airframe. Each new revelation painted a picture of a company struggling to maintain its own quality standards. From improper fuselage assembly to faulty oxygen systems and falsified records, the warnings from whistleblowers were being substantiated by a steady stream of production flaws, suggesting deep-rooted problems on the factory floor. Many of the 787 Dreamliner's current problems can be traced back to its revolutionary but flawed production strategy. When Boeing designed the aircraft, it decided to rely on a vast and complex global supply chain. More than 50 major suppliers from around the world were tasked with building large sections of the plane, which would then be shipped to Boeing's final assembly plants in Everett, Washington and North Charleston, South Carolina. The idea was to share the financial risk and speed up production. However, this decentralized approach created a logistical nightmare. Boeing lost direct control over the manufacturing process, making it incredibly difficult to ensure every part from every supplier met the same high-quality standards. This fractured system led to significant delays and cost overruns from the very beginning. Parts made by different suppliers in different countries often did not fit together correctly, leading to extensive and costly rework at the final assembly line. For example, in 2023, 787 deliveries had to be paused because of an analysis error made by a key supplier, Spirit AeroSystems, regarding the forward pressure bulkhead, a critical component that seals the pressurized cabin. In another instance, defective titanium parts were traced back to a subcontractor in Italy. These issues demonstrated a fundamental weakness in Boeing's oversight of its sprawling network of partners. The challenges of managing this complex supply chain were not new. Early in the 787 program, Boeing had to buy two of its suppliers, Vought and Global Aeronautica, just to regain some control over the troubled fuselage production. In 2014, hairline cracks were discovered in the wings of dozens of Dreamliners, a problem eventually traced to a manufacturing change made by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries in Japan. Each incident served as a lesson. When you outsource the production of critical components, you also outsource the quality control. Without its own engineers overseeing every step, Boeing was often the last to find out about problems that were already built into the aircraft sections arriving at its doors. This reliance on external suppliers created a culture where it was easier for quality issues to be missed or hidden. The problems seen in the 787 program are now viewed as a precursor to the issues that plagued the 737 MAX, including the infamous Alaska Airlines door plug blowout in January 2024. That incident was also traced back to a supplier, Spirit AeroSystems, which had originally been a part of Boeing before being sold off. The pursuit of cost-cutting and efficiency through outsourcing had come at a steep price, resulting in a loss of manufacturing expertise and a system where accountability was dangerously diffused across dozens of companies worldwide. The accumulation of safety scares, whistleblower warnings, and the first fatal crash has severely damaged Boeing's reputation. Trust, once the bedrock of its brand, has eroded significantly. Following the crash in India, Boeing's stock price immediately fell, reflecting investor anxiety. More importantly, public confidence has been shaken. A survey conducted even before the crash showed a significant drop in trust among American travelers. For an industry where the perception of safety is everything, this is a crisis. Airlines, who are Boeing's direct customers, are also losing patience. Major carriers like United and Alaska Airlines have begun conducting their own intensive audits of new Boeing aircraft before accepting them, a clear sign they no longer fully trust Boeing's own quality checks. In response to the intense pressure, Boeing has publicly promised to overhaul its safety culture and manufacturing processes. The company's leadership has pledged full cooperation with the FAA and Indian authorities investigating the 787 crash. To address the fundamental flaws in its production model, Boeing is now moving to reverse its long-standing outsourcing strategy by acquiring key suppliers, most notably Spirit AeroSystems. This vertical integration is designed to bring critical manufacturing and quality control back in-house. Boeing has also stated it is increasing the number of internal audits and empowering its employees to report safety concerns without fear of retaliation, aiming to fix the broken culture described by whistleblowers. For travelers, the situation creates a great deal of uncertainty. The 787 Dreamliner is a popular and comfortable aircraft used on long-haul routes by airlines all over the world. The ongoing investigations and the questions about its structural integrity naturally make passengers anxious. While regulators have not yet called for a worldwide grounding of the fleet, the FAA has placed Boeing under a microscope. The agency has increased its oversight, capped production rates, and is stationing more of its own inspectors at Boeing's factories. These measures are intended to ensure that no aircraft leaves the factory unless it is completely safe, but rebuilding the trust that has been lost will be a long and difficult process. The future for Boeing is at a critical crossroads. The company must prove that it can fix its deep-seated cultural and production problems. This will require more than just promises. It will demand transparent actions and measurable improvements in quality. The coming months will be crucial. The final report on the Ahmedabad crash will provide vital answers, and the results of the FAA's audits will show whether Boeing's reforms are working. The fate of the Dreamliner program and the reputation of a once unassailable American industrial giant hang in the balance. The entire world is watching to see if Boeing can pull itself out of this crisis and once again make its name synonymous with safety and quality.